Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 9 of my Java video tutorial series. Today, because of a lot of messages I've received, I'm going to cover arrays and how to use them inside of Java. First, what we're going to do is we're going to import an array library that we're going to use later on, right like that. And I trust you know how to do that because you guys are so smart. And then we're going to go Java lesson 9 is the name of our class. And then we're going to go public, static, void, and everything you ever want to know about arrays is going to be covered here. We'll be able to jump back into our video game and then you'll know what to do. If you don't know what I mean about video game, watch part 8, but you should probably watch part 9 first because it makes more sense. Alright, so if you want to declare an array, and just to make this real easy to understand, an array is a variable that can hold a whole bunch of different values. And you can think of an array as just a big box filled with a whole bunch of other little boxes. And each of those boxes has a number on it, and that number is called an index number. And you use the index in collaboration with the array variable name or field name to locate those individual values. Now, if you want to declare an array, every single array can only have one type of data in it. So here's an integer array, and I'm just going to call this random array, and no, these variable names don't have any meaning at all. It's also important to know that an array has a fixed size, so once you declare it or create that array and you tell it how big you want it to be, it cannot be changed. And also an array is an object, which really doesn't really matter, but I thought I should bring that up. So here we declared an array. Well, you can't use it until you define how big it is. So now number array is equal to new, and then you just go int 10. And the 10 here is how big your array is. So it's going to contain 10 individual values inside of it. It's how you do it every single time. Now you can have anything in an array just as long as everything in the array is exactly the same. And you can add values to this array in numerous different ways. So let's jump back into my random array, which I've already declared above, so I don't need to declare it again. But I do need to go new and say how big it's going to be and a little integer part on there. So now let's go and add a value to one of those boxes. And the whole box concept is going to make a lot of sense here in a minute. So there, in the part of my random array that is the index 1, I'm going to give it the value of 2, which is an integer. So you can put the little values in there that way. You could also say create an array full of strings, and I'll just call this string array is equal to, without defining how big the array is, you can just start putting things in here. So just random words. And of course put your double quotes around this thing so that Java knows this is a string. So this right here, what I just did, says that there's going to be 3 items in the array and it's forever going to be 3 items. Now you can go in and change these values, but this also is a way to declare or create an array for yourself. Now one of the most common ways to add values is through a loop. So let's do that. So we'll go int I is equal to and 0. Every array, unless you specifically don't want it to be, will start out in the 0 index, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't worry if you don't understand that. In a second you will, because I'm going to show you all this in like a little pretty sort of format. And if you want to get the length or the number of items in the array, you just type in the array name followed by length. And then don't forget to increment it. I've been getting a whole bunch of questions about incrementing inside of loops for some reason. So that's how you do that. So now let's take our number array and put I inside of it. That's the iterator, or the value that's going to continue to change. It's going to start out at 0 and it's going to go until it reaches the point where it can no longer continue. And we're going to just assign the value of whatever I is to said array. There's another way to add values to an array. And now I'm going to create something here that's going to sort of give you an idea of what an array actually looks like. So let's say I want to go and I want to create some lines to make like a box. So I'm going to go while, and I'm going to go k is less than or equal to, and I'm going to say 41. Don't need to put that in there. And then all on one line, I'm just going to go system out, print, and I'm going to put myself some dashes inside of there. Close that off and then increment k. Right like that, all on one line. And of course, system out dot print line. And I'm going to use this to kind of cheat as a new line. And just so you see what I'm doing here, let's just execute this. There you go. I drew a whole bunch of lines on the screen. Nothing that crazy. Alright, so now let's sort of describe exactly what an array is. So I'm going to go for int, and I'm going to go j is equal to 0, j less than number array, length, j increment j, and I'm going to go system out print, and I'm going to put a little or sign in there, plus j plus, put some spaces inside of there, close that out, and then jump down here, and I'm going to go system out print line. I'm going to close off my little box. Now you're going to see what an array looks like, and this is literally what it looks like. There you go. There's your array. Real nice and easy to understand now. All it is a bunch of values inside of boxes. There you are. And I just put these little things in here to sort of demonstrate exactly how that would work. Here's the 0 index, there's the 1 index, there's the 2, and so forth up to 9. Understand that we went and we said there was going to be 10 items in here, and there is. However, there is not space for both 0 and 10. So that's the reason why you get what you get there. And now I'm going to show you what I mean by a multi-dimensional array. Now, you can actually have arrays, not just individual values inside of here, and they're just going to stretch down this way. Multi-dimensional. It's going to not one-dimensional, but two-dimensional. So what do I got to do? I got to create it, and all I need to do is say that I want to put in 2 brackets. That's saying this is going to be a two-dimensional array, and let's just call it multi-array. And then you just go new, and then string, just like we did before. And let's say that we want to put 10 inside here. So 10 elements. Okay, now let's go and actually add values to this guy. So I'm going to go int I is equal to 0 again, I less than multi-array, followed by length, which means it's going to be the same size as that array. And then we have to create a new for loop. Now if I want to load up everything in this side of this guy, I'm going to int j is equal to 0, while j is less than multi-array, and then you got to put I inside here. What is this? Okay, what it's saying is, all right, whenever we have length up here, it's saying how long is this guy? 10 elements. Well, whenever we have multi-array and we put I inside of there, it's saying how long. Think of a column here. You're going to see it in a picture form in a second. It's going to make total sense. But you have to put that inside of there. So you're saying how long is this? Well, it's going to kick back 1 since there's only 1 item in there. But we're going to change that because up here we defined 10. So we already know the answer to our question. And then create another for loop, multi-array. And I'm going to go I, j, here I am, I'm just assigning the values just like we did before, except in this situation I'm going to go I plus, put a space in between there, just so you can see exactly what's going on. Okay, so what we did here is we assigned values to this array. So now what we're going to do is we'll kick them out. So make sure you jump out of this, both of these for loops. Jump down here, and then I'm going to want to print some lines out across the screen, so I'm going to copy this, jump down here, and now we're going to print everything out onto the screen, except this is going to change to 61, I believe. Everything else can say exactly the same. And then I can also copy this stuff here. So let's go and copy it, because I'm spitting them out, and I'm going to spit them out in exactly the same way that I put them in there. Alright, so we're just creating another for loop here, and then inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to go system out. And you can download all the code. It's underneath this video. It'd be much easier to understand what I'm doing if you have the code. And we're just going to make this a little bit pretty. So multi-array. And I'm going to go I. And all I'm doing here is saying I want whatever is in those indexes. And then here I'm going to put a space. Again, it's purely there to prettify this or whatever. Make it look like a whole bunch of boxes. And then to make it really look like a whole bunch of boxes, I'm going to copy this guy up here again. Actually, made a little bit of mistake. You can't define this integer twice. So let's get rid of that. So that's fine. And that's cool that you got to see that because it makes sense now. And then let's copy this again. Jump down here on out of our for loop. Print that out the screen. And let's run it. Now you're going to see what a multi-dimensional array looks like. And there is a multi-dimensional array, but one thing that I should have done here is actually command get system out print line, and underneath of this go like that so that everything lines up a little bit better and we have everything like a multi-dimensional array. And there you see our multi-dimensional array, and you see how everything's laid out. See, this is for I right here. This is for I. So what it's doing is it's incrementing j. Here's the j values, and it's just putting everything here on the screen, all based off of what the index is for those individual compartments for our array. Now there's other different things we can do with arrays, of course. You can use the enhanced for loop to print out array values, and how that works is just go for, and then int is going to be whatever type of values this array holds. Row is going to be a temporary placeholder. It's going to hold the values as you chuck them out of the array. And then num array is an array that we defined, and you see that. And then we're going to go system out print, and then just go row, which is the temporary holding cell for that value. Copy that, throw that down there, and I've gotten asked this a whole bunch of times. This is how you do a new line. Or add 2 spaces. Execute. And there you can see it printed out all of the values currently stored in the array called number array. Now if you want to do the same thing, which is use the enhanced for loop with a multi-dimensional array, this is something that's kind of tricky, but I think I can explain it. Basically you're going to follow this format. So let's say we got our string that we created before, which is a multi-dimensional array. You're still going to go, in this situation, I'm putting rows inside of there because I've already used row up here and don't want to cause confusion. And then let's go multi-array, right like that. Then what you need to do is put another one of these enhanced for loops in here, except this time we're going to go string and not with the array part there. And then I'm going to say column, colon, rows. Now, inside of this enhanced for loop, I'm just going to copy this. So let's scroll up here, get this guy, copy, paste, and then we're also going to copy this and paste this at the end of this for loop. You're going to see it's going to print out this exact same thing. Oops. Oh, and that didn't go through, and the reason why is this is what I want to put in here, multi-array like we did before. Column is going to be storing the string that I want to print out to the screen. So I'm just going to change this to column. And you can see this time that it printed out the multi-dimensional array just as it did up here. And let me just get a little bit more into exactly what's going on here, because this is a little bit complicated, or at least it could be hard to understand. Now, if you want to use the enhanced for, what you need to do is go for, and then what you're going to follow that up with is the data type. And then you're going to have those brackets, just like we always had before. But then you're going to have the variable for the row. That's what's going to go there, then a colon, and then the array name. This is the part that's probably maybe confusing you, the variable for the row. See, whenever it's printing these out, the value of rows starts out at 0, and it remains 0. As you can see, row only changes once, and then the column changes numerous different times. So this guy right here is creating this row of values, while this guy down here is creating the 0 and the 1, the 2, as you can see, the individual columns for said row. And then just simply what you would do down here for this guy is do exactly the same sort of thing. You're gonna, let me just copy that, paste it in. In this situation, because you're going to print out a value now, which is a string, that's these two things together, you're not going to need the array. It is a string. It's not an array type. And then you're going to go the variable for the column and then the array name itself. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave a comment below and I'll try to explain it better. But just understand, if this at all confuses you, this is something you're not going to do very often. And this is kind of a weird sort of thing to do with an enhanced for loop. Now you can do it, obviously, and it's kind of useful, but it's nothing to fret about. If you don't quite get it, don't worry about it. Now up here, way at the top, the first thing I did was imported this little library. Well, now I'm going to show you why I did that. You can copy an array in a bunch of different ways. Let's just come in here and let's just create a new array, and let's call it number copy. If you want to copy the array named number array, just put in arrays dot, and then follow that up with copy of, which is a method, and then you go number array. And then you tell it, well, how many different things do I want to copy from the beginning of this array? And if it's 5, well, then that's what you do. You just copy the first 5 elements, which is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it's going to do. And if we just jump up here to this guy right here, I could print that out the screen. You're going to see exactly what it means. Throw in the enhanced for. This is number copy. And I guess this is another way to make an array because there's another one. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different ways to make arrays. And then let's just go and be crazy. And you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it copied the first 5 spaces from that other array. So there's a way to copy arrays. And also another way you can do it is you can just copy part of an array. So you can go like array and use copy of, and then use copy of range instead. So let's say that you wanted to copy from the number array like we did before, but you want to start at the 3rd index and you want to go through till the 6th. That's how you do it. So that is copy of, and then if you want to copy a range, which means you want to start at a specific place and end at a specific place, you use another method, the copy of range method. Another thing you can do is if you want to print out a whole entire array, you can do that as well. How you do that is just type in arrays dot to string, and then let's say number copy. And there you see it right there. That's what this does. It prints out the entire array with all the values out onto the screen, and that is what toString does for you. Now before I showed you how to define a default value for all the other arrays. This is in part 8 of this tutorial. Now I'm going to show you again. So let's go create ourselves an integer array and we'll call it more numbers is equal to new int, and let's say it has 100 values inside of it. Now if you want to fill those with just random values, or not random values, actually a defined value, let's go no numbers, which is the name of the array that we just created here, and let's say everything wants to have the value of 2. Well, there you are. Phil just did that for you. It's going to put 2 in there as the default value for every single item that's in the array named more numbers. And like I showed you before, if you wanted to do this like for a game board like we were working on before, and we want to do like characters inside of this, well, you could call this board game and go equal to new character. Remember, this is a multi-dimensional array, and I'm just going to say 10 by 10. And you can use the enhanced for loop to do the same thing. So we're going to go character, and you have to put the little brackets inside of there. And then we can go row, and then we can go board game. And then come down here and call arrays fill again. In this situation, or what we did before, type in row inside of there, and then you could go and put a bracket and a star inside of there, which is what I did before. So that's the way you would do a fill with a default value of star for a multi-dimensional array using an enhanced for loop. And you know that now, so you're really smart. And seriously, you are smart. A lot of people have no idea how to do this stuff. You can also sort an array using a nice method that comes with the arrays library. And here I'm going to create a new one and go new int 10 items inside of it. And if I want to generate an array full of random numbers, for example, well, I can go for int I is equal to 0, I less than 10 in this situation. I could have put length in there, but whatever. All right, so what this for loop is going to do is it's going to generate an array that's going to have a bunch of random values in it. And I'll just say nums to sort, bracket, put I inside of there, is equal to. And then I want to cast whatever the random number thing does. So I'm going to put the integer in there, and cast just means that I want to convert whatever this guy does on the right into an integer, making sure that it doesn't have any decimal places in it. And 100 inside of there is going to kick out a number between 0 and 99. So that's just going to do all that, which is nice. Another thing you just learned is how to create an array full of random numbers. Well, I can sort all those numbers in ascending order by calling arrays sort, and then nums to sort. And it's just going to do it for me in the most efficient way imaginable. And let's just go system out. And then I'm going to show you the toString again. And then nums to sort. And of course, spell system right. And as you can see, it did. It shot out 13, 33, 40. See, everything's sorted all real nice in a nice order. That's how that works. And then for the last thing, there's the binary search, which is going to return the index for the search value if it finds it, or otherwise it's just going to return a negative number. That's very important. A negative number, not a specific negative number. So let's say where is 50 is equal to, and I'm going to call arrays and binary search and nums to sort. And I'm going to say that I want to be able to come in here and find the value of 50 if it exists. And if it doesn't, well, then we won't find the value of 50. Copy this, save myself time, and I'm going to go where is 50. Boom, and it shot back -7. Because why? Because 51 exists, but 50 doesn't exist. So there are all the main sort of things you're going to do with arrays inside of Java. If you didn't quite catch everything, leave a comment below, or send me any questions that you have, or download the code, or do whatever you want to do. Up next, haven't decided if I'm going to continue doing the game or get into array lists. I guess you'll find out next time.